Good evening, everyone. We are very excited that you're here tonight, joining Michael and myself. Tonight's going to be very interesting. We're going to be talking about the new new wave of products coming out there using scalar technology and how it relates to treating us chronically ill people and how it's just different than everything else. And how it's special and unique to our situation. And this is going to be a series of webinars, so we're going to try do an overview, and then maybe down the road we'll do a few more, kind of getting into specific topics and how they work with detox and hormones and recovering your brain and how it all fits together. So Michael, I'm going to turn it over to you now, and also tonight everyone will be on mute to help improve sound quality, and this will be recorded. And if you do need to ask a question, there is a question box that you can type in there. You can type your question in, and I will respond to it. So if you have any questions, please ask them and we'll try to answer questions as we go along. And I hope you enjoy this. And if you have any other questions, please also you can email me at Aaron, A-A-R-O-N, at LWT International. All right, Michael, I am turning it over to you, and I hope everybody enjoys this webinar.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Short Pump, Virginia, the World Center for Biophysical Medicine, if you exclude Russia and about 28 other countries. So the point of saying that is mainly that we have been kind of far behind for a number of years of understanding the physics of recovery. And the reason we call it recovery, we're really not doctors. We are people who actually work with long-term recovery programs and personal designs of programs to help people find their way, map the causal chain, see what's their really personalized medicine. So welcome to the seminar. The reason that we have come to this place is because as we progressed through over 10,000 patients, which, by the way, if many of you remember, there were 5,000 autistic kids those first number of years, and that was what I call the unfortunate gift of being in the middle of trying to figure out how to help those guys, mainly guys. And so we learned the physics, we learned the functional medicine, we learned the homeopathy, and it still came down to something was missing. We took on something a little easier called Lyme and sometimes Parkinson's and MS, and we found some of the same issues. So let's first, before we get really started, let's kind of go to the news. How about that? In the news, the teenager invents a phone charger which generates energy from the human body. Okay, anyone who doesn't believe that physics is involved in your body is kind of lost at this point. The medicine is 50 years behind. And Jeff Bland used to say it took 50 years for a good idea to become medicine. And so we're about 20, 30 years into this. I don't think I have another 20 years to sit and wrestle with it. But a teenager invents a phone charger that can generate energy from the human body and charge the phone. I thought that was pretty interesting. It hit sometime this week. They actually have a, whatever you call that, a GoFundMe or a Kickstart for that little company. The second thing is that Mike Adams, Natural News, is kind of a great... Michael Adams in Natural News actually announced today now that you can even hear chemistry, and I thought that was pretty interesting. So when you can hear chemistry, that you can now hear chemistry. Health Ranger translate molecular molecules, unfortunately there. Molecules into music. Stunning video demonstrates how you can blow your mind and your ears. And we'll see as we go along that sound and frequency and oscillation generates reactions in the body. And in this day and time, we don't seem to have enough touch, enough frequency from our hearts, and any groundedness from the earth. So it seems like it's been kind of a difficult time for, shall we say, humans. We have one theory that has developed, and we borrowed information from a lot of people from around the world. And what I mean by that is that, you know, I tell people I have MDs, PharmDs, and MomDs. So moms trying to save their children from autism, brought us a lot of information over the years. People trying to help themselves with Lyme bring us a lot of information, and we are folks who actually listen. And so as we got through it, there's actually a doctor in autism called Dan Rossignol that talked about 10 years ago about mitochondria, still using other areas and ways to fix it. But the root of all disease and aging is mitochondrial dysfunction caused by environmental toxins, cell pathogens that alter electron and biophoton flow. How many doctors do you see that talk about electron and biophoton flow? And what they do is inhibit the body from having enough energy to reset or recovery. Now that's kind of interesting because your body is governed by this thing called the extracellular matrix. And as we used to think it was just a bunch of glue that held your bones together, it really is the base regulating system of the body. It's taking in information. It is in fact a receiver and a transmitter, and it's made of collagen and connective tissue and mesenchyme. And that is very energy sensitive. Many of you are energy workers, Raji. We're energy workers, but sometimes we're unconscious competence. We don't know that that really exists, but there it is. Energy is important. And in this world of electromagnetic frequencies, sometimes we don't have any, we don't have a chance. And now here's what really happened, and this is really quite fascinating. And one of doctors that have visited here and actually studied at the University of Virginia for 10 years, and they said, well, we don't really like that research. We're really chemistry people. Self-physics says right here, we kind of think that our body is, in fact, 99% physics and 1% biology. But all we do is seem to treat the biochemistry of the body, when in fact biophotons and electrons govern how the chemistry acts. We have come up with 4 innovative forces that will help change this biology and this idea. So we think we're in the midst of a true revolution, that without cell health, there is no health. And by the way, that cell is governed by biophotons, electrons, excitons. There are so many frequencies, so many changes that are altering it. We wonder sometimes, well, wow, we just heard 20,000 fish came ashore in New England. The beehives are collapsing. We find correlation, even though we say correlation is not causation, but as frequencies change, when we go to 4G, to 5G, to 6G, we will see those kind of changes. So everything has a frequency, and Michael Adams has just recently said, hey, when I was doing this research, I found that everything had a frequency, a note. And we're building this story simply because our remedies are based off of that. So hydrogen, lithium, they all have frequencies. But guess what? So does Lyme. So does cytomegalovirus. So does Epstein-Barr. But so there are people in the world who can actually play frequencies and generate the absorption of oxygen, nitrogen, fluorine, magnesium, especially magnesium. Now, one of the problems is that all of these kind of wastes, what we're seeing is that ammonia, aldehydes, and metabolic waste, stealth pathogens, kind of go in here and disturb something called redox. Redox is the currency, or how we make energy, and to create cellular activity. We lose electrons, we gain electrons, but the biophotons and other frequencies are guiding this process. So what we do, and then down here, it's electromagnetic frequencies and radiation, disturbed biorhythms, and oh my gosh, we are seeing so many people. And you know what? We don't even say circadian rhythms anymore, because most of you are who work with me know that there's actually something called an ultradian rhythm. There's something that is associated with shall we say, bioelectronics, and so that would be piezoelectric. So the rhythms are quite different, but environmental toxins come into these cells and stop the cell function. And so if all of life is based off of frequency, you can see how our health may be failing us, when in fact all we do is spend time changing our chemistry, and we don't have access to our own blueprint and our own song and our own story. So electromagnetic pollution, environmental toxins short-circuit this mitochondria. And we just recently had our favorite pediatrician here, and Dr. In Colonial Heights, and she was wonderful. And we were talking about all the new kids that she's seen, and 1 in 3 have autism. So this hasn't gone away just because there's a lot going on still. And she believes that that children acquire toxic heavy metals and now become a conductor of information that's floating around in this electromagnetic pollution, and it keeps their brain from developing. Well, we've also seen self-pathogens like mycoplasma, molds and funguses, but the mycoplasma, for those of you who don't know, they are called cell wall deficient bacteria. And so what happens with cell wall microorganisms deficient, when they're deficient in cell wall, they take over your mitochondria and they become waste yet again in the cells. We're seeing recently tremendous amount of people with biotoxic illness from black mold or molds that they've had in their houses or self-generated from the overuse of certain medicines. So we are seeing that issue over and over. And if you know what a biotoxic illness, many of you have it that are on here, as I see some of your names. Biotoxic illness short circuits your ability to recover and your ability to find your own blueprint for recovery because it blocks your access to your DNA expression. Now, we can spend a lot of time talking about, and I did, I ran over 750 YASCO cases back in the early 2000s, and I'm not criticizing it at all. It's still an integrated part of my knowledge and my practice. But when you're this sick, most of the time there is not full expression of your genetics. And so we are still in a rescued mode with many, many people long before we can ever get to how do you express the genetics. So we're here to tell you that we're doing some innovative things. That's why we wanted to call this meeting and continue to unfold the story. This week I had my first NAD IV. Now, if you think I'm talking loud, I have so much energy right this minute and all this week that I cannot believe how wonderful. NAD has been around since 1955. It's a molecule discovered and studied by Abraham Hoffer. When I was a young man, which in my 50s, I got to sit next to Abraham Hoffer at my first functional medicine meeting. And he was 86 years old. And his main theme is a form of niacin will keep your brain from deteriorating. So we have looked at it in nasal sprays, intravenous, patch and supplementation are lower doses, and for some people that's enough. We are also pioneering the use of oxytocin because we've had recent visits from so many people who are disconnected from not other people but from themselves. So we're working very diligently on how we deliver. So we deliver either by nasal spray or by lozenge in that case. So we're having some interesting and exciting results with NAD-IV. It's most known for the use of detoxifying alcoholics and maybe OxyContin or cocaine users. And it's pretty exciting because it gives the middle of the brain kind of a peace, kind of a way to deal with what's going on. We're going to be using it for people with deep depression, or we're going to be using it for people who need better performance in their brain at school. It is an expensive molecule, so not everybody will want it necessarily in their program, but it is amazing, and especially a shortcut to repairing brain. And we think it's an intricate part of an anti-aging program. So if you're in your 50s, you might want to look at it. If you're in your 60s, but it stimulates the neuroimmune response. So even folks with autoimmune or even advanced inflammation, which we can call prostate issues or things of that nature. So we are really excited about this molecule. You will find lots of research out there in science journals at this time. Again, this molecule has been around since 1955. We are deeply connected with the people who do beta oxygenase version of it, which is the highly absorbable molecule. It gets into the body, so we do it by nasal spray. The nasal spray is exciting because after 15 days, you may have the same saturation. Again, what NAD is an essential part of a mitochondria function. So when we do it intravenously, it gets in quicker, and patch a little bit slower. When we add oxytocin or other enhancements to it, it's been very exciting. The exciting new innovations that we talked about last time are the qubit and the circuit. We have built in this office and wish to offer it to other people with Cox Technology of Birmingham, Alabama, former NASA bench scientist, so to speak. We built something called the qubit. Now, I named it qubit because I wanted to say to you folks that we have a quantum bioinfusion technology center. And in that center, we have the Qubit 300. You go in it, and it's a shielded environment that helps you reset your response to electromagnetic sickness. We have a BioWell. A BioWell is a camera that helps measure the biofield. And we're concerned that the biofield, we're losing energy. So we actually have a curling camera where you put your fingers in, and it tells us the progress. And then we have the circuit. And the circuit, again, quantum infusion technology, is where we use ozone biomats, and we use something like ClearMind technology to kind of get rid of the bad frequencies in the brain. And then, in addition to that, we have the Tesla, meditation room. So, quantum infusion environment to us in this part of my life became the most important thing that I could offer back. Now, this is kind of interesting because over 15 years we watched things develop. I was first a functional medicine practitioner, and I was on the board of Zymogen when they first started. Then we moved to homeopathics, and we were on the board of Guna, speaker board of Guna, and the speaker board of Physica Energetics, and we love all those products, and even Des Bio. But out of that, we didn't dedicate to the idea that there might be even a higher form of homeopathy. So we're going to talk to you about that right now. The 5 new remedies. They say, Mike, you're always too complicated. You just talk like a scientist all the time, and I don't want to talk like a scientist all the time. But these are 5 German research-based. I got most of it out of German research. Mainly the spinoff of Heil or Heal. And when I was developing it, we talked about there are 5 things we wanted to do. I want to clear the brain cells and restore your life. 5 homeopathic remedies that turn back on the damaged biophoton, bioelectron system in your body. The reason we're not getting where we want to be is the systems can't talk anymore. There's too much interference. There's too much incoherence. How do we know that? Well, one time I was sitting with a famous scientist, and he says, how do you know that? That's what I am seeing. And I had to tell him I use most of you know it as Zyto. We wrote our own algorithms for Zyto. We have our own applications for Zyto, so it's not a typical Zyto. But in this place, I gave the same information, but was shamed for the fact that I didn't really determine it by blood. Now, I got to tell you all something. There's not a way to determine a lot of this stuff by blood because there's not instrumentation or analysis that allows us. But what we saw was, notice the name, clear brain cell. That's the first 3. Because I have run 30,000 Zytos with 6,000 people in 20 different countries. And the theme, there were 100 things that came up, but the first top 10 were always mitochondria activity in the midbrain. And if you don't, and especially in the midbrain, because when that goes down, you can no longer defend yourself. So if you'll notice, we made the first 3 called clear brain cells. And while they're just little tiny words, they have over 150 different frequencies from the traditional science, carnitine, alpha-lipoic acid, and things of those nature. But we rebuilt the system. We allow it to talk. It's no longer about chemistry. In this day and age, it's about your photons and your electrons. So we've kept it simple, and they all work together. Let's tell you a little more about it. It's technically a homeodynamic or scalar homeopathy. It captures in structured water sound, vibration, frequency, and the representation of those substances. And look, if Michael Adams can come along and name it Elemonics, and everything has a frequency, well, that frequency then is imprinted that frequency is imprinted in structured water, and we test the harmonics to make sure that we get a higher sound, a higher frequency, a packet of information that can be delivered to the body and restart the communication. The goal of the T5 remedies is to accomplish greater impact with fewer supplementation. We're going to do a lot of this because this is where we start your body to do its job. Increased absorption and open the pathway for oxygenation, remineralization, and cell signaling. Why is that important? Because if there's no cell health, there's no health. And if the cells aren't oxygenating, mineralizing, and increasing cell signaling, they can't defend you any longer. And so in this environment, we lose our defense systems first. That's why when you talk to me, many of you have done consults, I say, what I will say to you is you have neuroimmune dysfunction syndrome. And that's what we believe, because the first thing that happens is your brain cannot find your immune system. And the brain or the nervous system is saying, wonder where he went, and all the time the house is burning down. So the immune system is sitting down there and said, hey, the house is burning down. I have one bucket of water left. Why don't you guys show up and defend me? And the brain is going, I don't know. Wonder what happened to it. So what the immune system does is throws the last bucket of water on the fire and sits down and waits for help. So cellular communication fails and opportunistic infections take over. So the first remedy, the pre-phase of the T5 protocol, prepares the body for further intervention and is based off of a traditional German homeopathic for drainage and detoxification, for clearing the extracellular matrix and restarting cell communication. The brain. Now this is one we're very proud of, because if we should know more about the brain than anybody at this point after 5,000 autistic kids, because inflammation in the brain is the primary issue. And autism is not some mysterious disease. It's an autoimmune neuroimmune reaction to the world. We reviewed 10,000 bioenergetic scans of the midbrain, and mitochondria rose as the most important link in the causal chain. So this one has about 40 different remedies in it, frequencies. And this one provides rebalancing of signaling in the brain. And if I got some of these off the wall, if you, I put everything on the wall. I have a big whiteboard here. And what you're really doing is providing rebalancing of the signal. Those are neurotrophic factors like NT4 and NT3 and brain-derived neurotrophic factors. We've got that in that remedy. Metabolic support. Well, it's kind of interesting. We don't think about, you think if you got a little extra weight around your middle, you got a metabolic problem. But the brain has metabolic issues, and it is the powerhouse. And when too much sugar, because we have a lot of sugar operating the brain, not ketones, and ketones are a better source of, and that's fat. And we're seeing a lot of what they call diabetes 3, which looks a lot like Alzheimer's or dementia. So metabolic support is essential for the brain. Neurologic support is really important, and that means let's make those cells connect. They often overwire themselves. Because there's inflammation, they're trying to protect themselves, and then the wires get too thick. You can't transmit a wireless telephone over a copper wire, and so when the wires get too thick, they don't carry the information. The brain is quite interesting. Over here in what looks like the cauliflower is really a gelatin, really a microchip, and all of those, there's 50 trillion cells, a lot of cells sitting there. The old way that we understood it was kind of like AT&T and what my kids probably call, the old telephone system, and like a bunch of wires. But this beautiful gelatin mass up here is really kind of like Facebook and Twitter. You don't think Zuckerberg came up with all that stuff. Your brain has been email, texting, tweeting, Vining, and Instagramming for a long time. So our next part of it was, because there is so much, and I made a big mistake one time. Inflammation. I said, oh, that poor kid's brain is, well, damaged. It might not even be damaged. There's like a vapor lock of inflammation in people's brains that separate the brain from the mind. Mind is a very important concept that helps us to access our higher levels of information, higher levels of information, and solve complex problems. When our brain is on fire, we can't respond. Again, the neuroimmune communication fails and the whole body goes down. We also placed a lot of support for eliminating stress and creating focus. There are so many of us who aren't sleeping. So we're half awake when we're asleep and half asleep when we're awake. When this formula is added to our clear mind system or our biophotonic modulators that we use that go up the nose, or an intranasal laser called NeuroB, and we do our formula plus use ClearMind, we get better results. Now this is the flagship remedy, the flagship remedy, because we said one thing to you guys. There is no health without cell health, and mitochondria is the key. I got to tell you, when we first found Midas Energy, we loved it, and we still do. The key to this is trying to find out how NAD and NADH and FAD and all those words you see on that nice, organic acid test, how to increase that function. Mitochondrial function is a serious matter in autoimmune and neuroimmune health. That's why people's brains are shrinking. That's why we can't sleep. That's why we don't understand complex language anymore. It's getting a little scary for most people because we can't continue to support higher functions in our brain because, again, of electromagnetic pollution and environmental toxins entering into the cell and short-circuiting. Now that's really, really key. Something like a mycoplasma, a cell wall deficient bacteria or pathogen, looks like a jellyfish, when all these other things look like marbles and rods and have a cell wall. But something like a mycoplasma does not have a cell wall. And it takes over your mitochondria and, shall we say, co-ops the energy production for itself. So our key in this one, we have placed, again, hundreds, maybe 75 remedies in this one, to neutralize intracellular toxins, to restore cell function, and increase messaging and cell communication. I'm going to walk over here and grab that one since it's our key. And I'm going to read you some of the things that are in this. To increase cell energy, we have a 3X alpha-lipoic acid, we have microtubules, we have carnitine, and we have a number of homeopathic remedies or more traditional. But then we actually, if everything has a frequency, we place tyrosine, phenylalanine, and histidine. Let me tell you, you can't get all of that down your throat, so we wanted to design a way for you to actually get it into your matrix and help it work for you, to stimulate your own body to generate that frequency and that response. The restore piece, well, you can kind of see the obvious similarities, but it helps support the function of the restores and rebalance the microbiome and repair the leaky gut, providing barriers against leaky vein. Now, I don't want to claim a lot of credit for this, but it seems like I might have been one of the first ones to go around saying, if you have leaky gut, you have leaky veins, and you have leaky brain. And the reason that is true is because collagen and the electromagnetic environment is destabilizing molecular bonds, and you end up with porous basement cells. So when your gut leaks, your veins leak, your liver gets congested, and everyone thinks we have a blood-brain barrier, and we do not. We have a blood-brain barrier that lets certain things through and a lot of things through these days because the basement cells, due to inflammation, have caught on fire, blew up like a balloon, and then you can't ever fix a balloon to go back into its same place. Well, I don't know why I did this one, except we hadn't recovered the endocrine system yet. So follow the words. Clear brain cells restore life. As I work with Chinese medicine practitioners, I know one thing: blood tonification, the quality of the blood. So this is not a flagship remedy, it's a capstone remedy, and I love it. It provides vitality, and you can stay on this one forever, because the things that are in this are things like the homeopathic remedies for Rhamania and for things that, again, help tonify the adrenals, the blood, the neuroimmune support because it has reishi and chaga, but the reduction of stress because it also has HPA axis support. It has hormone support. It may be a lifelong remedy if it's suitable for your body, and we love those combinations. So we start out with clear brain cells, and we restore our life. We might be on all 5 of them for a month or 2, and then we pick. The big home run hitter in this situation is the up-and-coming idea that if we are a firm that emphasizes mitochondria disorder, we are going to be the place that you come and get an IV or a nasal spray. We have our doctor work with you on that. Or our team of doctors that's starting to emerge here. Numbers of MDs are starting to show up and ask for not only MDs, but DOs and those guys as well. So, you know, that we really appreciate them kind of trying to coming and learning. NAD is a key element in the production of energy in the mitochondria, which assists the body in resetting what I believe is a super system that keeps you together. Neuroimmune dysfunction. Again, we can deliver it by patch. And there is the word. It's coenzyme, important in many biological oxidative reactions. Healthy oxidative reactions produce energy. The other ones steal energy, photons and electrons. We're introducing tonight our what I call brain jumpstart protocol. And I thought, how do we make this kind of affordable? So I'm taking myself out of it right this minute because people need this right at this moment to say, I have these T5 remedies here. I need to clear brain cells and restore my life. And so that has a price. In order to get nasal spray, which is one of the best deliveries, you have to have an appointment with our doctor, and that is Dr. Nancy Pound. We're becoming the low-dose, unusual delivery firm on the East Coast. We want to put in a nasal spray that will help jumpstart this midbrain vitality so you can be the receiver and the sender that you need to be. We ask you to actually, or provide you with a cognitive emotional assessment, and it is online before and after. Typically, that would cost somewhere around $605. We are offering that brain jump start protocol. It's a jump start protocol is what I call it. But it is for the brain, and because right here in the middle of the brain, that's where everything happens. That's where we create the energy, and then it pulses through these areas. And if you have no energy in the brain, it's hard to recover. So we hope that you enjoy this. We're at 35 minutes. Aaron, do you think we should take some questions at this point?
Yes, we already have one question, and the question is, are these remedies compatible with rifing?
They might be, in fact, enhanced by rifing, and because when these frequency remedies get into what you would call, the biofield, they're absorbed, and the rife machine frequencies wouldn't even affect them, or if they happen to attach to them, would drive them deeper. Thank you for mentioning that. We do love in our quantum reset environments, we do love a more efficient use of our Rife machines. We love a more efficient use of our Tesla, but we do have a lot of home units, the BCX and the PFG2. We are using both of those for certain people. Certain people it's easier to understand the BCX, and for certain people we love the PFG2. So that has been an exciting part of our practice for the past 5 years. So by the way, folks, we didn't just start this. We've been doing this for about 5 years. Next question, Aaron.
Are they in plastic or glass?
They are currently in plastic, and we have decided to move to glass in the next 2 months. But at this moment, the way that they are imprinted, which is a scalar wave, it keeps its charge. We've tested it. We've microwaved it. The charges are still there. By the way, you still don't want to put them, right next to every weird electromagnetic frequency in the world. You don't want them on the power lines or right next to your plugs. I can go on just a little bit further.
We have another question. I live in California. How important is it to be close to your clinic to take advantage of other modalities available?
At this moment, even though there's a number of clinics, especially in Southern California, that can actually produce some of the things they do not do it. Julian Whitaker and other people don't do it in the same way that we do it. There are places starting to recognize NAD on the West Coast, mainly because some of my patients forced them to, and they saw the results. So the answer is sometimes you should come for a member retreat and just stay 3 days and let us evaluate you, or even a week, and especially with the IV, and we'll try to find you a place. We're going to try to develop this molecule not just for alcoholism, not just for addiction, but addiction to internet, addiction to depression and deep depressive issues that are often associated with dysfunctional gut. And so deep depressive issues, and it'd be wonderful. So we're trying to develop that molecule in smaller and more affordable doses to help everyone, not just people here at my office. So we're going to be out there on the road talking about it over the next 6 months. But right this minute, you would have to kind of come here or for the full modalities. There is one other option. You can buy Rife machines, and we can teach you how to use them in your home and create your own quantum reset environment. So you ought to look at that if you think this is for you. Is there another question there?
Yes. Did this protocol help anyone from protecting them from EMFs?
That's exactly what it's designed for. We're raising the body to a higher frequency. We're raising and giving protection to EMFs. Now, there's a lot of EMFs we don't understand. Some of them are cosmic waves. Some of them are called mu waves or something like that. They get down deep in. They're so fractional, we'll never understand it. They are driven by something called neutrinos. And so as we understand them, we, shall we say, up the game and try to shield them. There is no perfect, effective way to shield from EMFs, but this is one of those that you can raise the vibration of your body and shield a lot of things off. That's what these remedies are designed for, to raise the vibration level. You can kind of feel it kind of early. What we do is, 1 or 3 sprays 2 or 3 times a day. By the middle of the week, you'll start to understand how it feels and how it makes you feel. Most of the time, it's positive. Like anything else, not everybody has the same reaction, but this shields you from EMFs and restarts the signaling in your body. We would love to see you here. Look at our website. We have a deep submersible quantum reset environment developed by Herman Cox, and you lay in it. It has 5 technologies, but if you look at our website, it's called the Qubit, quantum biofusion technology, and it has Rife, Tesla, and other atomic element frequencies that we pour through that, as well as vibrational biomats.
Okay. Do you need to be a patient of Michael's to do the Jumpstart program?
That's what we tried to make it for, and the answer is no. That's a great question. So those of you who are currently working toward the Jumpstart and getting into our recovery program, So we go from Jumpstart. We go from there to almost traditional functional medicine of cleansing livers and gallbladders and actually providing real, meaning chemicals, substantive chemicals to provoke a detoxification. This opens the pathways. This protects you. It gets you solid. We don't see enough solid people anymore to go right into a protocol. Too many people get hurt with too rapid of a change. So the answer is you do not have to be my patient. And what you might want to do is go about 2 weeks and then make sure that you actually become one of our patients if you have a very effective results, because there's 3 more steps past the Jumpstart that you might want to be involved in. Those of you who are existing patients, you would talk to Colleen or Janet or Aaron about the next step or expanding your brain program by adding something like a Neurocin or a Vista or as something that helps with nitric oxide. And most of you do not have all 3. You only have clear brain cells. We'd like for you to start the Restore Life. You do not need the consult with Dr. Powell because you've already had one. But we would love to invite. Go ahead, Aaron.
What if you want to start the NAD and haven't had an appointment with Dr. Powell? You can call and set that up, and that can be done remotely. We set up through GoToMeeting, and you have a remote consult with her.
So
and that way,
that's an effective way. So even if you're someone that has not seen this information from us there in Austin, Texas, or Wendy, we would love to show that to you and talk to Dr. Powell and test that out to see if it does get that breakthrough. We've got so many, as we've gone through the years, it's getting harder because of this electromagnetic frequency. I even have patients that work for FCC, and they know that when we go from 4G to 5G, another group of people are sick, and now we're going to 6G and maybe 7. So it's going to get more complicated. So electromagnetic frequency is what this is designed for. Get your cells strong. There is no health without health, without cell health. And our next statement would be, come and do the old functional medicine piece. Go through the repair, restore, and reconnect, and be strong in 6 months. Be the strongest that you can be the best version of yourself. Go through a recovery program and strengthen your electromagnetic.
Can you start these at any time?
You can start them at any time, yes, but it really is a 6-month, the Jumpstart program depends on, how many of you sign up and how fast we can get you through, because NAD, nasal spray, is a nutritional prescription. And so we have to see the doctor, evaluate you, but you don't have to see me, but you're going to want to see me within a month, because this is the place. I don't have to be there for you. This is what everybody should have to do to get started. You've got to get your brain turned on. You've got to get your central nervous system back. You've got to work on that midbrain where the reticular activating system isn't carrying information. You've got to work on the cerebellum and the pons and the medulla, because the signaling from the brain is slowed down too much. You can start it at any time. All you have to do is call and we'll get you in.
How long do you have to wait between using Clear Brain, etc., the 5 different remedies?
You do them all at once. They're designed to work together. When I was on the board of GUNA, speaker board of GUNA, we had those great scientists come over from Italy. And so we sat in classes and discussed them and changed them around. And we had these amazing ideas of how they're not mutually exclusive. We designed this one, I designed this one to be, say, clear brain cells, restore life. So I just pick them up one at a time. Clear, brain, cells, restore, life. I might do 1 spray, I might do 2 sprays. Sometimes it's too much. And it is cumulative, because what you're doing is building up your frequency. Wow, we have people keep on coming, I guess.
Yeah. And then what are the next 3 steps?
Repair, which is the Jumpstart. So I always call it repair, restore, and reconnect. What I'm offering you is the rescue. So we go through a more traditional approach. The next three steps would be liver and gallbladder detoxification, restoring the microbiome through the traditional kind of ways of cleansing, with fibers and things like that, and getting the mucus out of your intestine and having that become balanced. Make sure you're overcoming your SIBO or your digestive issues, because without the whole functional medicine approach, and I'm still a functional medicine practitioner, it says to me that I've got to start with the gut and the liver and gallbladder. What I disagreed with them is that the brain was more important to get turned on first. So now you go into a functional medicine mode, and then at the end of that, you're using even more homeopathy if we find deeper and deeper. And here's what we usually find, folks. We usually find first, in the Lyme people, we find Lyme. But we can remove, Lyme is not easy, but I'm going to be a little, so Lyme is not easy to fix. Sometimes it does get fixed, but people are still sick. And that's because when you scrape off the Lyme, the next thing you're going to see is mold. And the next thing you're going to see after you scrape off the mold, you're going to find cytomegaloviruses. And when you uncouple the cytomegaloviruses from their covalent attachment to metals, you're going to see metals. So we take you through that detoxification and restoration process. That's called repair, then restore. And then we put you on a maintenance program that says reconnect. We're going to stay reconnected in our brain and in our body and try to fend all this stuff off so we can be strong in the face of electromagnetic pollution and their opportunistic friends. So there's your 3 steps. Thank you for asking. That's a good question.
Okay. And are there detox considerations or HERCS issues to watch out for during these remedies?
In this protocol, not so much. It's a little bit, shall we say, this is how this works. You're going to find this very interesting. Frequencies will destabilize the molecular bonds of the Lyme or other active infections. Will you have a HERCS? Everybody's different. You know that because they have MTHFR, COMT, all those wonderful words that nobody, that we think we know all about, but we don't. But by the time you get into this first phase, you're so sick or you're so depleted, even if you're not sick. You're still depleted because we cleared the Lyme, we cleared the mold, and people are still sick because the electric isn't on. This usually turns on, and there can be HERCS. But look what I did. Clear brain cells, restore life. I'm trying to provide you every pathway that you can have here, and so it will at least be minimized if you do have one. So the answer is not entirely bad, not entirely a bad HERCS, but it may be a HERCS. Frequencies destroy the molecular bonds, and in this last person that we worked on, she's had Lyme for a long time, doing NAD and the 5 remedies. The molecular bonds fell apart, and they were no longer gripped by Lyme, and they're starting to feel better. But detoxification can be an issue. But that is right here, detoxification in these 2 right here. Restore cells. So I am fully aware of it, and while it's not impossible, we've made all accommodations to minimize the HERCS.
Having many gut issues following Lyme and co-infections, parasites, and molds, should this be evaluated first, or would it possibly help to repair?
I designed it so you didn't need to be evaluated. I do love my Zyto, and I want you to do that as much as you want to because I designed that. We've done it 30,000 times to 6,000 people in 20 different countries. It's a unique body of information. But this is for everyone, whether you're feeling bad or you want to have a better golf score. So it doesn't need to be evaluated simply because it's frequency. You should, if you want to be a part of what we're doing, take advantage of the fact that, that we're going to give you a coupon if you sign up for this to even get money off to talk to me later. like 6 weeks or 8 weeks later. So I did this so you could get jump started, so you and I don't have to, scratch around in the muck and waste your first visit. I want you to get started. And you will be evaluated by questionnaire, not by blood or not by frequency, but by questionnaire. And that gives us enough to say, I want to clear my brain cells and restore my life, and then we can talk. So typically, and again, for 98% of the people, that's fine. There will be 2% of you who are in catabolic states that will keep you from, doing anything sometimes. We've seen that quite a bit over the past 5 years. Well, Aaron, we keep getting more people. Do I have to do this over again?
What kind of program for mineral replenishment and balancing is recommended? How does one measure progress in this respect?
Mm-hmm. Well, I love measuring progress. Minerals are absolutely essential because they are the cofactors of cell health. Why? Because they maintain the electrical covalence of the outer membrane of the cell. When you start to lose your charge of your cell, that's when you're sick. When it goes from negative 70 millivolts to a positive millivolt, you might have cancer. So how do you measure it? Well, we can do the old functional medicine tests. We look at all of those testing if you like. We can do hair tests. We have found that our algorithms and our biosurveys have been very successful in managing whether you're still demineralizing or not. So we often use a Minerals for Life. We use again, frequencies to help you assimilate the assimilate the minerals that are in your body already. So that's a good question. And it's important. But sometimes we run out of money just testing. And so sometimes we have to, just go ahead and move forward because we know we all pretty much need minerals. And we use those minerals at a molecular basis. So most of them that you don't need are moved out through the urine. So we're not real sensitive about that sometimes, but we do test for minerals when we need to, either by organic acid or by hair or by other urine or other urine tests. Another question?
We are out of questions for tonight.
Okay, great. Here's what I'd like to do. We're introducing open mic night, like Aaron said. It's because it's open mic, and that would be me. We would sit here and talk about these things and do it by question, maybe once a month, and just get your questions answered because over these 10,000 sessions, I've seen a lot, and people need the help and they need the understanding of how these things work. We would be delighted to serve you in that way. We're going to offer what we call open mic night and other opportunities for learning over this year, especially over the next 6 months. I'm at the Couric Institute in Orlando in February. I'm at the Bio, if you guys are on the West Coast and you're in Northern California. I'm giving the first presentation at Life at Cell and Below. It's called who is that, Aaron? Beyond Balance. Thank you. Beyond Balance Herbal Conference in San Francisco. And I think that's like April the 17th. We're looking at other options, but maybe 2 or 3 times a year, and then doing it this way might be more helpful to the 50 of you that turned out tonight. So we really appreciate that you came. If you have any more questions, I will give you one more, couple more minutes to submit them. Don't be afraid. No question is a silly question. I will summarize. We've been in this business for a long time. We've done a lot of good things. We've never done a bad thing. Every once in a while, things don't turn out the right way. I've spent the last 5 years developing this clear brain cell. I didn't know how to make old-fashioned homeopathics. They're not that hard, but they weren't good enough for what we're trying to do. So we created what we believe might be the new relevant treatment in chronic illness and even chronic wellness. And that is, we've got to restore the biofield. and we've got to make biophotons and electrons talk and inform our body to come alive. And so that's what we did, and we studied the European journals and the research, and then we not biophotonically, we created scalar wave homeopathy based off Russian science that we discovered. And why is Russia 30 years ahead of us on this? Simply because they didn't have antibiotics and things like that. And a company called Westinghouse actually created something called solar homeopathy. And so for 30 years, people like Tina Karu and people in Russia at the big bureaus studied this energy medicine. Max Planck Institute in Germany. Of course, unbelievable engineers in Romania. So we got to tell you that there is other medicine in the world that we're not aware of. It is not fake news. Any more questions, Aaron Payne?
There's a question about what is in the homeopathic remedies, but you might want to explain how these homeopathics are a little bit different than just traditional homeopathics, how they're more of a scalar frequency than they are.
Scalar frequencies are representations of the actual substance. It is recorded and imprinted into structured water. Let's see if I can come back to that. Everything has a frequency. So, lithium, 587. Nitrogen, 251. Look at all those different frequencies. Electromagnetic pollution interrupts our natural state of frequency. So we get sick when we no longer have our frequency. Everything is a frequency. Exciting new innovations? Well, let's see. We've done these things before: qubit, BioWell, circuit. These remedies are made of sound, vibration, and captured oscillations. Why is that important? Medicine has ignored the fact that there's a lot of activity going on between you and me right this minute. You can hear my voice 3,000 miles away. If we can capture that in subatomic frequencies, it organizes your body. So what's in it? Frequencies, but they're frequency representations of alpha-lipoic acid, carnitine, and calcium, and herbs, and sometimes spices, and sometimes homeopathy. Sometimes hormones. So what they do is right here. They're printed in structured water, and it's the frequency of all those 180 supplements you might be taking on a methylation protocol. We can actually stimulate your body to do the same things without taking 180 supplements. So I think you probably asked that question because you might be reactive to a lot of materials and substances that you put in your body before. This goes deep into the cell, and you shouldn't have at least an allergic reaction to it. Structured water, imprinted frequencies, and tested harmonics. It's trying to bring your body back to harmony. I hope that was clear enough. Next question, if there is one.
We did have a question about the Jumpstart program being available on the website. It will be available on the website. We should have it up there tomorrow, and along with this webinar will also be posted on our website tomorrow, so you can listen to it as much as you want or pass it along to a friend.
We're having a good time right now. This concept is going to be proven out, and it is time for us to leave the dark ages of whatever you want to call what we've been doing. And years of antibiotics and years of certain medicines is not Lyme literacy, it's Lyme lunacy. We are really interested in enhancing when you can literally give frequencies and dissolve the molecular bonds of viruses and bacteria. It is essential that we think differently now. And I'll take one more question, Aaron.
Well, we don't have any more questions. So.
Well, 8:30 is the perfect time. I thank all 50 of you for coming out tonight. We will continue to post. We will have open mic nights and continue to unfold this energy story. You want to be on NAD. You want to protect your brain. Do your own research. Don't listen to just me. Do your own research. And let's get well together. So thank you very much for attending tonight. Take care.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. I should have this posted in the next couple days up on our website so you can listen to it again. If you have